Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we are diving into something really powerful, how you can start a business using what might be the most overlooked source of capital out there, your own customers. We're going to unpack exactly how you can get them to pay you before you even deliver the product. This is the classic entrepreneur's dilemma, right? You've got this incredible idea, but your bank account says otherwise. You watch shows like Shark Tank, and you start to think the only way forward is to raise a ton of money. But what if I told you there's another way? A really powerful alternative that lets you build a business without ever having to pitch an investor. So, how on earth does that work? Well, it's actually way simpler than it sounds. In fact, you see this model in action every single day. Think about it. When you book a flight, you pay before you fly. When you sign up for Amazon Prime, you're paying for a whole year of shipping up front. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and for a startup, it can literally be the difference between getting off the ground and never leaving the drawing board. Now, here's what's so interesting about this approach. It completely shifts your focus. See, instead of chasing venture capital, you're chasing your first paying customer. And getting a customer to pay you before you've delivered anything, well, that's not just about the cash. It is the absolute ultimate form of validation for your business idea.
So you're probably asking, why would anyone on earth write me a check for something that doesn't even exist yet? And that's a fair question. It really boils down to a few key things. First, you're solving a problem that is so painful, so pressing that they are desperate for a solution. Second, you've managed to build undeniable trust. You've proven to them that you are the one to solve it. And finally, you're not just offering a product, you're offering them a chance to be an innovator, to get a unique edge with a groundbreaking solution that nobody else has.
Okay, so let's get practical and look at how this actually works in the real world with a fantastic story. Because securing that very first yes is without a doubt the most crucial step. Let's talk about a company called Funovation. They started with literally nothing more than a prototype laser maze that was just cobbled together in a basement. So Funovation's co-founder just started cold calling amusement parks and eventually got a hold of a place called Oasis Fun Park. And here's the genius part. They didn't just pitch a product. They pitched them a chance to be one of the most innovative parks in the world. And guess what? It worked. Funovation walked away with a signed contract and a $20,000 check, all before they even had a commercially viable product. That check, that was their seed funding. Now, here's another path you can take, this one from an education startup called Pobble. It really shows how you can build up to that big ask. They started by building a community and earning trust, step by step. First, they launched a free blog that had incredibly useful resources for teachers. Now, this wasn't just marketing, okay? They were delivering real, tangible value. Then, they monetized that trust by offering paid in-person workshops. And by delivering amazing results in those sessions, they proved their worth. That gave them all the credibility they needed to convince 80, that's 80, schools to pay upfront for an online subscription platform that wasn't even fully built yet.
So whether it's one big check from an amusement park or 80 smaller checks from a bunch of schools, once that first bit of customer cash actually hits your bank account, the big question is, now what? And the crucial point here is that this money isn't just profit you can take home. No, this is your growth capital. It's the fuel you're going to use to build the entire engine of your business.
So let's look at what Funovation did with that first 20 grand. It didn't just go to building the first maze for Oasis Fun Park. No, they invested it, and they did it strategically. A chunk of it went to marketing, building a real website, getting booths at trade shows to get more leads. And the other part went to what they call manufacturing formalization, which is really just a fancy way of saying they moved production out of the founder's basement and into a real office. But, and this is a big but, this model comes with a critical warning. The magic, the entire secret sauce, is in the timing of the cash flow. It's about getting paid by your customers before you have to pay your suppliers. If you mess with that timing, even a little, you can create a massive crisis. And that's a lesson that Indian entrepreneur Jay Gupta learned the hard way. See, Gupta built this huge, successful retail empire entirely on a customer-funded model. For years, he took goods on consignment, which meant he only paid his vendors after his customers had already paid him. His business was always cash positive. It was a beautiful thing. But then he launched his most successful store format yet, called The Loot, and he made one single fateful change. And this slide just illustrates the problem perfectly. To get better prices and deeper discounts for The Loot, Gupta started paying his vendors in advance. He completely flipped his cash flow model on its head. In an instant, he went from being funded by his customers to funding his vendors. And that one decision triggered a massive cash flow crisis that almost sank his entire company. Now, despite that risk, and it is a real risk, the pay in advance model, when you do it right, instills this incredibly powerful mindset in a founder. It's completely different from the traditional venture capital route. It forces a kind of discipline and a focus on what truly matters that can make a business fundamentally stronger in the long run. I think this quote from Funnovation's co-founder Eric Mueller just captures the whole philosophy perfectly. He said that managing investor relationships just takes up a huge amount of time and energy. But by focusing on customer funding, all your time and all your energy go into making your product better and building a truly sustainable business. You're solving problems for the people who actually use what you make, not just for the people who wrote you a check. So the crucial takeaway from all of this is pretty simple. Your first, most important investor might not be some venture capitalist in a fancy boardroom. It could be a customer with a real, pressing problem that you and only you are uniquely positioned to solve. The challenge and the real opportunity here is to find them, build their trust, and then have the courage to ask for the check.